Hey kids. Back once again with Grimbreaker. The Wish Our Childs. Now we're gonna go see what we can see, you know. Let's see. Oh man, look at these fucking dead bugs. Yeah, sorry guys, I don't find the, like, Gwent's fine. It's not bad. And I don't know, maybe someday I will grow to like it. Cool.
Melitele will not forget your sacrifice, nor will her faithful servants.
Alright, lady, you need to calm down.
Kneel and pay homage to the gods. You shall be rewarded.
Calm down.
After Wetterton, are ye? Bonnet tune that. Just the folk will be on shite. After Wetterton, are ye? Bonnet tune that. Just the folk will be on shite.
The hell is this fucking shit? Graveyard, dude. Okay. Alright, okay. Very good.
The Lyrians entered the graveyard. Crickets chirped in its tall, windswept grass, and lush green moss covered its crumbling gravestones. Only a fresh bloodstain upon a mausoleum wall suggested that something disturbed the dead in their rest and hunted the living.
Save your tears. Throw off your grief.
An eerie voice sang, its ghastly lament standing Maeve's hair on end.
Soon your life too shall cease as you pass into the eternal glow.
A pockmarked, pustule-ridden creature crawled out from behind some gravestones. It vaguely resembled a shriveled, hunchbacked hag, until its head split into two halves, forming a tooth-spiked maw.
Attack! Everyone!
Sure. Great bag. It's a grave hag, of course.
What was that filth?
The queen croaked hoarsely as the dying monster writhed in agony at her feet.
I know not, your grace,
replied Reynard.
but to be safe, I would have the corpse chopped up and burned. Elsewise, we will not be certain it shall not return.
Yes, have it done.
Meve said, brushing her hair from her beaded brow.
But quickly, lest dusk catch us in this foul place.
The Lyrians soon resumed their march. As they left the cemetery behind them, some believed they still heard the haunting dirge upon the air. Or was it just the wind, whistling past mossy tombstones?
Cool.
As they neared Wetterton, the Queen ordered her company to halt. She then sent men to the town for supplies. Those sent returned more quickly than she'd assumed they would, their satchels empty, their mounts foaming at the mouth.
Your Majesty, the townsfolk have gone right mad. Herded all the elves and dwarves at Market Square. 'Tis a slaughter.
The Queen knew well that if she failed to intervene, the town's streets would flow with non-human blood. Just as she knew her meager force might not subdue an enraged crowd.
What is your command, your grace?
Reynard's question pierced the silence.
What can it be, dear friend?
Answered the Queen, then spurred her mount and rode off towards the town. Her troops followed, running as fast as their legs would carry them. When they passed inside the town gate, they saw corpses lining the gutters. Meve realized she had arrived too late to prevent a tragedy. The crowd was drunk on blood. Its rage would need to be quelled with an iron fist.
Step away, or see your heads bounce down the cobblestones!
Happily, Meve restored order without suffering any losses. Reynard then learned that a nobleman's ire had triggered the violence, ire at having discovered a theft.
Suspicion fell on the non-humans he employed. He accused them, they protested, and the row soon engulfed the town. But there's something else, your grace.
Reynard gestured towards an aged man who stood grieving, his face in his hands.
I've witnesses who claim the strays of Sparla are the thieves.
Though the tragedy seemed the result of a misunderstanding, justice would have to be served. Those responsible for the slaughter would need to be punished. The question was, how severely?
Your excuses I cannot accept.
said the Queen.
The vipers who called for the slaughter, they will hang. The rest...
Majesty!
A townswoman fell to Maeve's feet.
Mercy, please! 'Twere words taken wrong, a misunderstanding.
A misunderstanding? To don another's cape, pay out insufficient change. These are misunderstandings. What happened here was criminal, and you'll be punished as criminals.
Ooh. They included the sound effect.
The condemned were hanged at once, without regard to the protests of kith and kin. Those non-humans who had managed to hide and survive made a most generous donation in gold to bolster the Queen's force. I'd like to say Wetterton's small melting pot of races lived on in harmony. Yet alas, I'm not in the habit of propagating untruths.
Oh boy.
You hanged good folk today, ma'am. And for what? Because they came to the end of their tether?
Those bandits, dressed as demons they was. Horns on their heads and pig snouts instead of noses. Those bandits, dressed as demons they was. Horns on their heads and pig snouts instead of noses.
What's that?
Off to the nuptials, ma'am. Or to cross this bridge here. Then ride on straight as piss. An arrow. I'm bringing honey for the groom and his lovely bride. May their new life prove at least as sweet.
The Queen
There it
rides her
goes.
there. The Queen. She'll smite the bandits. Save us, one and all. Air smells of smoke. Bites at me eyes. Strays of sex
I might
smiles
not.
ablaze, I wager.
Oh no. Deranged cows. God damn it, moo cow. browse.
Good folk, the Queen's returned. Welcome her we must. Tribute in hand. Ah, our Queen. Why, pretty as a painting she is.
Maeve's ear suddenly caught brisk music and voices raised in song. She had no doubt. A wedding ceremony had just begun in a hamlet just off the high road. When the bride's father spotted the royal retinue, he rushed up to beg the Queen to bless the newlyweds. Maeve obliged cordially. Encouraged, the father boldly invited Maeve and her court to join in the festivities.
You do us a right honour, my lady. And your men would bolster their strength afore to march ahead. We beg ye, eat, drink and rejoice with us.
I haven't slippers to dance in, but I trust I'll manage somehow. Lead on, good man.
The nuptials took place in the shade of a vast oak tree. Then the newlyweds and their guests walked in procession to a barn adorned with flowers. An uproarious celebration ensued. As she watched her soldiers dance shoulder to shoulder with peasants, Maeve felt a surge of pride at being their queen. The heart of Lyria. It beat most powerfully here, not in the gilded halls of palaces. Suddenly a cry went up as strange armed men rushed into the yard.
There's the lass! Grab her!
Before anyone could stop them, the bandits took the bride and fled into the woods. The drums and fiddles, suddenly silenced, were now replaced by weeping, moaning, angry calls for pursuit. Deep grief upon his face, the host turned to...
We'll not leave you wanting, good man,
shouted the Queen, slipping her feet into her stirrups.
Follow me! Here!
The earth trembled beneath the weight of horse and hoof. Tankards laid out for a midnight toast to the bride and groom clinked prematurely in the quake, and the Lyrians charged forth into the dark wood.
Lovely.
Though the Lyrian cavalrymen had imbibed spirits throughout the night, they not only managed to stay upright in their saddles, but even gained on the bandits and cut off any chance of escape. Neve's troops defeated the bandits and rescued the bride. Only to be surprised. For the maiden fair dropped to her knees and burst into tears of sorrow, not joy.
Weep not, child,
the queen said, placing her arm upon her shoulder.
It's over. You're free.
Nay, not so, your majesty. My lady, I've no love for Jan. No wish to wed him. It's my father. My family forced me. My heart's Fimbers. He arranged the masquerade. I beg ye, if you've 1 ounce of kindness, if you've a heart, let us leave this place together and free.
This scheme you've pursued, I can't condone. Folk have been wounded. Some might have died,
said the queen.
Yet, equally, I cannot let others force you to marry.
So, may we go, your grace?
You may. Fast as your legs will carry you, afore I've a change of heart.
Though none dared utter a word of chagrin, Meve sensed her subjects' bitter gazes upon her. At the first light of the morn she left, without so much as a nod goodbye.
That's okay.
The Queen rides hither. The Queen. She'll smite the bandits, save us one and all.
You spy that column of smoke? Gods damn it! Make haste!
As the Clayton estate appeared from behind a tree line, the Queen and all in her retinue knew at once they had arrived too late. A veritable swarm of bandits milled about the yard.
Who have we here? I'll take a gander, lads. The Queen herself has deigned to come and see us.
See you, then kill you.
The strays of Sparla. 'Tis you who lead them. 'Tis you they call the Duke of Dogs.
Aye, 'tis I they dub so. And in other pleasant ways. Prince of Pariahs, Thane of Thieves, Baron of Brigands, and Marquess of Mendacity.
Colourful titles all, yet you omit one. Common cutthroat!
I beg your pardon and cry foul. I am anything but common.
You needn't get excited, Caldwell. Where is Lord Clayton?
Sadly, my lord's no longer with us. Turned us away, you see. Denied us hospitality. A sacred right, after all. Angered the gods mightily, I expect, as he promptly met a tragic end. Fell in the well and broke his neck.
I've heard enough. To arms! Attack!
Ho, lads! What say we throw this queen a ball?
Ow!
Bravo, your grace. Well played.
I can't say the same for you, I fear. You'd have done better to die in battle. Bound for Lyria now, where the hangman will have his way with you.
Splendid! I've ever wished to see the capital.
Quite certain of yourself, you seem.
Many afore you have braided nooses for me, your grace. Yet as you see, my neck's straight as a pike.
My threats are never hollow. And if it's an escape you weigh, well, we've yet to see any man abscond from the dungeons of Lyria Castle.
I'd hope so. For to be known as second just wouldn't be worth the trouble.
Ugh. Take him away.
As soldiers placed the Duke of Dogs in shackles, there was a sudden commotion. A messenger rushed in, sweaty, gasping for air, smelling of smoke and blood. His gaze spoke terror.
Your Majesty, graces. Nilfgaard's crossed the Yaruga. Black-clad hordes. Villages burn. Folk lie murdered.
Nilfgaard! Gods help us!
They march for Dravograd. Prince Willem, he can't hope to arrive in time with aid. Help us. You must.
Dravograd. Blast it all. Listen close, soldier. You're to take a fresh mount, ride hard back to your commander and say the Queen comes to repel the foe.
Your Grace, begging your pardon, our force. We aren't many. Let's send for reinforcements first. Elsewise...
Reynard, I've seen Nilfgaard's trebuchets at work. Should we delay until we're stronger, they'll leave no stone standing in Dravograd. We must ride for the town at once.
As her men prepared to march, Meve climbed the manor's tower. Smoke rose in columns in the distance. As more black pillars appeared one after the other, she knew they meant another home, another barn, another mill was in flames. Tears welled in her eyes, yet they were tears of anger.
Bastards. If it's war they seek, it's war I shall win. Reynard, prepare to ride!
First bandits, now this. Misfortune does indeed come knocking twice.
In hobnail boots, tramping upon my land. Nilfgaard shall regret this. I swear on all that is sacred and blessed.
Suddenly, Meave's force found itself marching straight towards a Nilfgaardian company. To the Queen's surprise, the invaders did not immediately assume battle formation. They proceeded instead in her very direction without a sign of panic. The man leading the Nilfgaardians was clad in rich robes. He exuded pride and the scent of musk.
I am Trahaern var Vdifir, Your Majesty. I was asked to present your esteemed grace the ultimatum of the forces of the Empire of Nilfgaard.
The envoy cracked the seal on a scroll, unfurled it, took a deep breath, and began to read.
I, General Ardal Ebdahi, demand the immediate and unconditional surrender of Lyria and Rivia. Elsewise, I will burn down every city, town, village, and temple, place all your subjects in chains, and your armed men, defeated and captured, I will hang along the roadsides as a warning to all others in the barbarous north.
As the final threat echoed in Meave's ears, the envoy put away the scroll and stood waiting for her answer, a mocking smile on his face. He allowed himself this insolence, believing the immunity accorded diplomats would shield him from any form of royal ire.
His Excellency speaks true. We Nordlings are barbarians, without exception,
Answered the Queen. Though her voice was calm, most of those listening shuddered inside.
We neither hold nor honor the standards of the civilized world. Among them, the immunity of envoys. At the...
I mean, we have to kill this asshole, right? Sure we do.
This is savagery! Barbarous! To attack an emissary!
The envoy's escort crumbled beneath the onslaught of Meave's Lyrians, who grabbed the emissary and brought him before their queen. Robes torn and head blooded, he no longer exuded imperial pride.
Your Grace, what would you have us do with this pompous arse?
I want him shackled in iron collar and manacles. To the capital we shall take him, and in the castle dungeon he shall taste of northern hospitality.
The envoy's jaw opened, but no sound, no protest came forth. The Queen's irate stare drilling into him, he simply swallowed audibly. Trahaern var Fetifir, usually silver-tongued, remained utterly silent the rest of the way to the capital.
Go to the chest.
152, 154,